Welcome everyone to Travel Weekly TV. Where we kind of chat behind the scenes to the people in the industry. I'm Dan Lake, the editor here, and with me is Dean Long from AFTA. How's it going?
Very good, and great to be with you.
Excellent. So as we're getting to know people through the industry, we always like to know where that spark for excitement for travel came from. Do you have like an early memory that comes to mind when you think, oh, that's when I started to have excitement about going away on trips and that sort of thing?
So I was thinking about this, and I think there is this very clear moment for me. It was Fair Start the Fun Ship. I was my first ever international trip. I remember I was a little bit young then, and I remember getting quite a large teddy bear, which would have been the same size as me. And ever since then, the Fair Start the Fun Ship teddy bear was in my room, and really just, I think, got me involved in travel, got me involved with tourism, and that passion just continued on. And I was really lucky to have a set of parents that said, look, schooling is important, but experience and traveling the world and realizing there's more to life than just having the small little conflict at school. Get out, see the world, and we'll do that together. So very, very lucky to have parents that encourage that.
And the job you're doing now is not exactly 9 to 5. So to be able to pull that off, you need passion for what you're doing. What makes you passionate about working for the organisation that you're working for?
Yeah, I'm really love my job, and fundamentally it's because it's one of the only jobs in the industry that doesn't necessarily have a KPI regarding sales, which is fantastic.
Not many of them.
Not many of those in the travel industry, as we know. But what it's about is creating an environment for the industry to thrive. It's about trying to bring together multiple stakeholders from travel agencies, tour operators, wholesalers, and bring them together for one common good. It's something that I'm really passionate about. I spent most of my career now in the not-for-profit sector. And when you get those things right, it's rewarding to the soul. It's really something you can be proud about and know that you've left the place better for the people around you. And that's one of the things that really drives me and drives the rest of the team.
For us, maybe something about AFTA that people wouldn't necessarily know.
Yeah, that was an interesting one because we're pretty open and transparent, and I think we probably issue more media releases than any other organisation in travel. So I think what was really interesting, I had a look through some of our members, and we've got members that have been part of the organisation for nearly 60 years. And that to me shows those business owners, there's a commitment to something greater than what's in it for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important part of what AFTA is about and what the association is about. We've got an employee that's been with us for over 30 years. And that type of work that Jean has been doing, focused on the members, focused on trying to create new ways to make our industry better. That's, I think, is what makes it special. I'm not sure everybody realises that we've got members that are 50, 60 years with us, and will hopefully be with us for another 30, 40, 50 as their business transitions to new owners.
Yeah, and the experience that those people bring to new people coming into the industry.
Yeah, it's amazing. They're usually the ones that ask for the least, but give the most.
Yeah. What is a particular thing about working for AFTA that you're most passionate about? Is there something that you're particularly, or something that the organisation does that really kind of motivates you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've spent a lot of my career in government, both as a public servant and political advisor. And it really frustrated me as someone who loved travel and tourism that we never really felt like we had our fair share. It never really felt like that we had the voice of government for an industry that's worth close to $70 billion. That's what gets me going. It's trying to reset that agenda, making sure government really does understand the power of what our members bring, making sure it's about connecting people both from community, but also providing those really rewarding jobs. It doesn't have to be about digging stuff out of the ground and shipping it overseas. We can actually take us as Australians to the rest of the world, connect them and bring those cultures and experiences back home. That's one of the things I just love about the job. It really just empowers us.
And I think go through the COVID experience, that a lot of people realise how big travel and tourism is for a country and for the economy. A lot of people kind of thought, holidays, well, they can wait. Everything else has to come before that. But when you put a figure on how much that is worth to, a state or a country, it really puts into perspective how important it is to get these things right.
Absolutely. And I think one of the key things is there was a lot of focus on holidays, but what we actually found that travel is more than just a holiday. It's actually about doing business. It's about creating and connecting those once-in-a-lifetime moments. And that's why we saw really early on there was that huge pent-up demand for travel. Not all of that was holiday.
Yeah.
A lot of that was families reconnecting because we're an island continent. We've got more people from around the world here, more parents from another country here than anywhere else in the world. And so we have to travel, and that's in our DNA. It's in our DNA from 100 years ago. It's in our DNA from 60,000 years ago with our First Nations. Travel is who we are on this continent, and I think that was something which a lot of the politicians didn't really understand, but we are making some headway on that.
And you keep drumming.
Exactly. That's definitely the game plan.
You would be one of the people, if you ever go to like family occasions and that sort of thing, and they'll be like, travel, and they'll say, give us some travel advice. I'm going somewhere. What can you tell me? What should I do? What's the bit of advice that you give them?
Look, I think there's one part of advice I have to do, and it's a different part of my job, and I definitely think it's a good idea. You've got to check whether they're ATAS first. That's the most important thing. Make sure your travel agent, make sure your tour operator's there. But I think my favourite piece of it is I pride myself very much on being an excellent packer. I can pack things in backpacks that people go, how did you do that? My favourite moment was a bar stool from New York in a backpack. I managed to disassemble it in the hotel room, put it in the backpack and get it back to Sydney and reassemble it as a gift.
Were you stealing a bar stool from a bar?
No, I didn't steal it, although I did get it for a good price. So it all depends what NBC Universal's thinking on the NBC bar stool that my brother has in his house at the moment. But my best visual is pack well. If you pack well, you don't have to take the world. Know what you need in your backpack.
Yeah.
Know what you need in your suitcase, and be very particular about it. And just remember, if you get your toothbrush, not the end of the world. They're everywhere.
I know, that is true. Predictions for the next 12 to 18 months. It's a question that comes around every 12 to 18 months, but particularly at the moment, because there's some still, not uncertainty, but we're kind of in uncharted territory. So what are your thoughts on where we'll be at in 18 months or so?
Yeah, I think we're sort of coming to the next phase of the recovery. We had pent-up demand, limited demand, no staff, massive resourcing problems. We've moved to this next part where probably we're more profitable than what we have been for the last 10, 15 years because we've had a lower cost base. But I think now we're into this new era where we're having to ramp up. We've got a new commercial environment with a number of suppliers. That's not going to change. We've got service fees being introduced. We've got wholesalers and travel agents trying to rework that relationship to understand that you can't just push things to the wholesaler and you can't just push it to the agent. So I think it's going to be another challenging 18 months for us from a business process perspective. But the thing that I always remember, even in the next 12 to 18 months, the worst day that we're going to have in the next 12 to 18 months is still better than the best day we had during COVID. And as long as we remember that and we're collegial and we're respectful in our engagement, we will have a cracking next 12 to 18 months.
So well said. Before we go, you've got 60 seconds to tell us about whatever you'd like to. You can talk as corporate speak as you like, or you can just tell us a funny story. Is there anything you'd like to tell us about AFTA while you're here?
Look, I think one of the things that AFTA does really well is try to bring people together, and it's something that really drives what I do, and particularly over the last 2 years. We do have over 200 and 300 members of tour operators, wholesalers. We know we've got about 1,000 travel agents with us as well. It is a unique organisation that needs to be strong and needs to be thoughtful and needs to have greater voices. I think as an organisation, we are absolutely set for success. There's going to be some amazing things we're going to be announcing through conference season through the second half of this year. I'm really proud to be leading the organisation. It's a true honour, and it's one of those things that I'll look back upon at the end of my career to go, I'm really proud of the contribution I've made to the travel industry.
So good to speak to you. Thanks so much for joining us on Travel Weekly TV. And if you're hosting any of those events, hide the bar stools. I think that's what we've learned from this interview. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back on Travel Weekly TV. Don't forget you can see all the latest headlines every day on travelweekly.com.au. See you next time.